this is the first of the class in the series of the general studies sessions that we will be taking further. Now the first topic that we will be covering for general studies today is the concept of Niti Ayog. Now this is a very important topic from point of view of the general studies section in most of the examinations. Now to start with, we will understand what is Niti Ayog, the various structure for governance, then its composition, policies and implementations. So Niti Ayog was formed in replacement to Planning Commission. Also note that this session would be a kind of unbiased view. We would be simply trying to understand, we'll simply try to understand the basic policies that have been formulated and the basic structure. We won't have any personal opinions in this class. Now Niti Ayog was formed in replacement of Planning Commission. Planning Commission was established in 1950 with the aim to use the natural resources at its full potential once India got independent, and it started with the various 5-year plans. However, on 29th May 2014, there was a committee that laid forward the idea that this Planning Commission should be replaced by a more controlled commission, and that was laid forward by the Independent Evaluation Committee. As a result, on 13th August 2014, this Planning Commission was scrapped off. However, there was a lag period between the scrapping of Planning Commission and formation of Niti Ayog. This was a duration of nearly 6 months, and on 1st of January 2015, there was an idea that Niti Ayog would be established to replace the Planning Commission that has been scrapped off. During the 6 months period, that was the lag period, there was various inputs that were taken from experts, specialists in various fields, and finally it was realized that there should be a new body that should be formed, and that should be more focus oriented. Since Planning Commission is now obsolete, it is based more on the philosophy of one size fits all. It should be replaced with a body that believes in bottom-up planning approach and a kind of inclusive development, that I could say. So this body was renamed or named as National Institution for Transforming India, and it was mainly a policy formation. That was the basic aim of this body. In contrast to that, there was funding issues that were dealt with in Planning Commission. However, in case of Niti Ayog, the main idea is simply formulation of policies. So what happened was, on the 1st January, there was idea that Niti Ayog should be laid down. However, on 8th February, it was finally declared as functional, and the first meeting took place. Niti Ayog is headed, or I could say the chairman of Niti Ayog is the Prime Minister of India. Now let's understand the process or the governance system in India. When we talk about the system of governance, where we understand the various bodies, we can classify the bodies can be either constitutional or extra constitutional. When I say constitutional, that means these bodies are mentioned in the Constitution of India under certain articles. For example, Election Commission. However, extra constitutional bodies are those bodies which are nowhere mentioned in the Constitution, like Planning Commission, National Development Council, and so on and so forth. Now these extra constitutional bodies can further be classified into two, that is statutory bodies and executive bodies. Executive bodies, I can also say non-statutory, that's another word I can use for this, or we can say executive bodies. Statutory bodies are those bodies which are created by a law that has been passed in the Parliament. For example, National Human Rights Commission, National Commission for Women, and so on. However, non-statutory or executive bodies are those which are passed by the executive order, like the e-Aadhaar, that's the unique identification for individuals, and you have Niti Ayog or Planning Commission that was prior, fall under the non-statutory category. So in simple terms, I can say Niti Ayog is a non-statutory body as well as non-constitutional or extra-constitutional in nature. Now let's understand the composition of Niti Ayog. Now this composition of Niti Ayog is more or less similar to what was for the Planning Commission. However, there has been few drastic changes. So first is the chairperson, that used to be same for the Planning Commission as well. Now the chairperson of Niti Ayog is the Prime Minister itself. Vice chairperson is nominated by the Prime Minister, and then you have the Chief Executive Officer, the CEO, who is nominated by the Prime Minister. The CEO has a fixed tenure and is usually at a secretary level position, so you can say a senior IAS. Next, you have three categories under which you have the members of Niti Ayog. You have 3 full-time members, 2 part-time members which are mainly experts from research institutes, and finally you have 4 ex officio members which are nominated exclusively by the Prime Minister. So this is the real composition of the Niti Ayog. Now if you look on to the present composition, here are the members who are presently part of Niti Ayog. The most important that you need to know is the full-time members, those are Vivek Oberoi, the economist, V.K. Saraswat, he was the former DRDO chief. Now let's move on to the most important one, that is Arvind Pangaraiya. He is the vice chairperson of Niti Ayog. He did his PhD from Princeton University and is a professor of economics at Columbia University. He is also ex-chief for the Asian Development Bank. Now some of his important works were related to the land labor reforms in Rajasthan. Again, one of his book that talks about India, the Tryst with Destiny, focuses on the growth model of Gujarat. This was a book written by one of his guides, that is Jagdish Bhagwati. And both of these economists focus on how the growth had taken place in the state of Gujarat, and it focused on the growth model. One of his recent works is India, an Emerging Giant. So these are some of his major works. He regularly writes articles in Economic Times. Besides this, Arvind Pangaraiya is now supposed to be a major forerunner for the post of RBI governor. Raghuram Ranjan, who is set to retire on this 4th of September after his three-year term is getting over, Arvind Pangaraiya is considered to be a main contestant for this position. Now moving on to the key points or the key objectives of Niti Ayog. The first and the foremost is this Niti Ayog was formed on the ideas of NHRC, and this NHRC is a body of China, that is the National Development and Reform Commission, that is in China. So the basic idea of Niti Ayog is to learn best from foreign nationals, as we have done in our constitution, take the best from different nations. Similarly, this Niti Ayog, the key idea is to take the best from the foreign nationals. Also, we already talked about the key composition. Besides that, you have the governing council. This governing council of Niti Ayog is composed of the chief ministers of various states and the lieutenant governors of the union territories. Then besides the governing council, you have a regional council. This regional council is based, or I could say it is a need based body. So if there is a requirement, there would be a body established which would be known as regional council to deal with the problems of a specific state. And finally you have a special committee, and this special committee includes experts, I could say experts and specialists in their own domains or knowledge areas. So these three would be the major idea behind the Niti Ayog. Now the major idea, as I said, is to learn best from foreign nationals. So it was adopted on the lines of the NHRC, that is in the NDRC, that is in the that is exists in China. The objective is bottom up approach. Since I say bottom up approach, grassroots development is the key. So village level would be the key focus, moving from village onwards. In contrast to one size fits all, you have a model which is cooperative federalism that works based on the requirement of the people. It is, the basic idea is involvement of all states to resolve any intersectoral issues that emerge up. And then the most important is inclusive development, that says Garib, Gaon and Kisan. So these three concepts should be included when we talk about development of nation. Finally, empowering women and child and setting up a transparent system that should be more liable and more objective. The next is, this Niti Ayog aims to fulfill the 17 sustainable development goals that we have propounded. So these are the 17 sustainable development goals. We call them as SDGs. So these 17 development goals are a must to understand, and through Niti Ayog what we plan to do is, we plan to provide the best for these 17 development goals. Now next is, under this Niti Ayog we have a new mission that is known as Atal Innovation Mission. This Atal Innovation Mission aims to spread entrepreneurship and innovation in youth of India. This is established in relation with or I could say in collaboration with Intel India, and they have established a movement which is known as Atal Tinkering Laboratories, and this Atal Tinkering Laboratories aim to establish a total of 500 laboratories. On a trial basis, they will initially start with 10 laboratories. The aim is to incorporate skill building techniques in youth and students. They would be Intel India would be investing around 15 million for this project, and the aim is to impart skills to around 2.5 lakh youth spread around 500 schools in India. Now, moving on to the main action plan, this would be the main focus, and whatever we will cover in this action plan now, we will be covering those as separate sessions, most of those as separate sessions in our further lectures on GS. Now, if I want to classify the action plans, I can broadly say these would be the category under which the action plans have been formulated. Now, if I move on with the first category, that's the legal issues. The first is a unique identification system or digital locker. Then is a new method or refurbishment of the process of notarization. So these two are the key ideas under legal issues. Under energy, the main focus is renewable energy. When I say renewable energy is the main focus, the main idea is, the more heard about these days is the e-rickshaws, that's the solar powered rickshaws. Then you have the solar charkha in the villages, promoting handloom as a part of solar charkha scheme. Then you have the Surya Mitra Yojana. Surya Mitra Yojana talks about Surya Mitra Yojana. This Yojana talks about launching or training the youth with the use of solar technology. And finally you have Seva, that is solar based efficient water supply system or water pumps that could be used for agriculture. So these are some of the main ideas under renewable energy. Besides that, there is again Surya Jyoti Lightning Yojana, that is lightning of the rural roads and the rural regions. So those fall under the category of energy. Under water, first would be the Swachh Bharat Abhiyan. Then you have the Ganga Rejuvenation Plan. So these are some of the most commonly heard of. Then you have the Jal Kranti Yojana. This Jal Kranti Yojana focuses on providing watershed development and water conservation in most of the rural areas. So conservation efforts are focused under Jal Kranti Yojana. Then you have the developments on the port side. So on the western Ghats or the western side of India, you have the Vadhavan port that has been established in Maharashtra, and this port is aimed to release the pressure on Jawaharlal Nehru port. Then you have the Sagar port that has been established in West Bengal on east coast, and that aims to connect Dankuni, and a railway line to be established between these two regions. So these are most of the developments that occur on the ocean side if I talk broadly. Then you have next food. So establishment of food and nutrition board is the first thing. One of the laboratories or the main center has been established in Faridabad. Then you have three other that are to be said to be established, one in Chennai, Calcutta and Mumbai. Then you have within the food you have the cold storage chain, so FDI in cold chain. Then quality of plastic regulation, that is again important. As a result, you have plastic parks that have been established. So there are plastic parks that have been established in 4 states, that is Tamil Nadu, then you have Madhya Pradesh, Assam and Odisha. those plastic park would function with providing quality plastic to the region. Then you have women and child development. Under women and child development, first is Beti Bachao Beti Padhao. Then you have Mahila E-Heart. That's again a e-portal that has been established. So digitization under Digital India is a main focus, I could say. So Mahila E-Heart. Then you have electronic tracking for the missing child information. So these are some of the efforts that have been taking place for women and child. Then nutrition is another important field. Under education, it has been led by CBSE to make sports compulsory up to class 10. There should be a mandatory yoga teacher in every school. So these are some of the efforts that are taken under educational setup. Under food and agriculture, again you have establishment of mega food parks. Then you have under culture, I could say there is establishment of Adarsh Smarak. So those Smarak fall under the Archaeological Survey of India, and you have selection of nearly 25 monuments that have been done under the Adarsh Smarak Yojana, where they would be connecting the region, they would be providing more information through electronic media and popularizing the content. Then you have Festival of India cell that has been established under to promote the culture of India. To connect the various isolated regions with the main hub, you have Leh from Pashmina from Leh that has been connected, or that aims to provide a tourist destination for Leh Ladakh area. Then finally you have the agriculture. So you have promotion of the Fasal Yojana. So you have the Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana that has been released for the agriculture farmers mainly. Then besides that, you have some developments that have taken place in the field of health as well. So under health, you have 3 institutes that are to come up, that is All India Institute for Unani medicine, All India Institute for Homeopathy medicine, and All India Institute for Yoga. There is already a All India Institute for Ayurveda that exists in Delhi. Then you have a Northeast Institute for Ayurveda that exists in Shillong. And then again you have a Northeast Institute for Folk Medicine that exists at Pasighat. So these are some of the already existing institutes that are already functional, I could say. And then you have the Shalya Swasthya Vardhan program that has been launched for the school going children. So these are some of the schemes that fall under the action plan of Niti Ayog. We will be covering all these in further detail in the further sessions that we will be taking. If you have any doubts or any suggestions, you can leave those as comment below the video. We will be covering more sessions, so you can subscribe to our channel for any further updates. Have a good day ahead.